Hello, everyone. Welcome to all the Dietrich School alumni here. I'm Kathleen Blee. I'm the Bailey Dean of the Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences and the College of General Studies, and I'm really delighted to have you join us today. Of course, I wish you were joining us on campus in person, but hopefully that is around the corner. So in the Dietrich School right now, our students are getting ready for final exams, getting ready for commencement, which we hope will be in person, but it's still unclear, and getting ready, moreover, for the return to campus. So we anticipate our offices reopening in June and being fully present on campus, all our classes in person in the fall, which will be a matter of great delight to all the faculty and all the students. So I appreciate you coming today to hear a little bit about undergraduate research in the Dietrich School. So when you think of Pitt, I'm sure you think of research. Pitt is a research powerhouse by any measure and has been for a long time. You know, Jonas Salk and the polio vaccine is a product of Pitt, and Pitt has been instrumental in developing aspects of the COVID vaccine as well. What you might not know is the extent to which research is now deeply integrated into the teaching mission of the Dietrich School. So the reason we're able to attract such top undergraduates, and you're going to meet some of our undergraduates soon, is that the Dietrich School in Pitt is well known across the world now for the ability of undergraduates, not just graduate students, but undergraduates from their very first years to work with world-class faculty, both in the classroom, but also in independent research outside the classroom. So where they develop a sense of the excitement of research, where they see research firsthand, and also where they see that not all research is successful, and they learn the extent to which being a researcher and being a student and a successful person means resilience and starting over and rethinking projects as they go along. So you may have read, it was carried widely in the media, about our distinguished professor Graham Hatfull, whose research in biological sciences led to a treatment that saved the life of a young girl who was fighting a drug-resistant infection. What you may not have noticed in the article is that Dr. Hatfield's lab is full of not only postdocs and research faculty and graduate students, but many, many undergraduates who work in his lab during the year and in the summer for the experience, the excitement, and the knowledge they gain in such cutting edge research. That happens in other areas as well. Our Mellon Chair distinguished faculty member Lisa Vesterlin has students working with her in what's called PEEL, the Pittsburgh Experimental Economics Lab, where they learn to run simulations and test economic theories along with Dr. Vesterlin. These students are not only gaining knowledge, but many of them are co-publishing with faculty. And finally, our world-class Department of History of Art and Architecture has students working under faculty supervision in art installations and art collections all over the world, places many of us would love to go. They're in Florence, they're in London, they're in Paris, always supervised by faculty, always working on projects with faculty, but again, at the really the cutting edge of knowledge and scholarship. So what we want to do in the Dietrich School is make sure that those kind of opportunities that have really become the brand of the Dietrich School, that those out of the classroom, faculty mentored research opportunities are available to all our students, all our undergraduate students, regardless of their financial standing. And that's why undergraduate research and supporting students who want to do undergraduate research is one of my fundraising priorities. To give you a sense of the experience and what students gain from independent faculty mentored research, I could tell you a lot more examples, but I think a better way for you to understand what undergraduate research is like and how students benefit from it is to introduce you to a couple of our current students and let them speak about their experiences. So I want to introduce you to three of our students who were kind enough to join us today, even though they are, as I said, preparing for the end of the term in their finals. But our first student is Kate Gannon. Kate, do you want to turn on your camera so people can see hello to you? Hi, Kate, and welcome. Our second student that's joining us today is Samir Yelal. Samir, would you turn on your camera, please? Welcome, Samir. And our third student who is kind enough to join us today is Parashand. Hi, Paris. Welcome to you too. So these students were kind enough to tear themselves away from what you will see as a very full portfolio of activities to share a little bit about their experiences. And then we'll have an opportunity to talk. If you have questions for the students or for me, you can put them in the chat, and I have some questions already. So Kate, could you start by telling us something about your experience?
Thank you so much, Dean Blee. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Gannon. I'm a senior. I'll be graduating this May, and I am majoring in English writing, English literature, and French. I came into Pitt knowing that I was going to pursue research, especially in my primary discipline, which is English literature. One of my favorite teachers in high school always told me that the best papers you write are informed by your culture, by your life experiences, and the things you want to understand most about yourself. And research was my opportunity to continue to pursue the questions that I had about myself and about my culture and the people that surround me. So I always knew that I was going to be very passionately involved in English literature research, but I actually started research doing something very different than what I do now as a senior. I enrolled in the first Experiences in Research program through the Office of Undergraduate Research. And through that program, I was matched to work on my very first research project, which ended up being working on an art exhibition alongside Professor Lenore Thomas of the Studio Arts Department at Pitt. She is a wonderful professor who specializes in screen printing. And as a part of this exhibition, Buff, which was on display in the Strip District in April of 2018. We would take photographs of places around the Pittsburgh area, Southern California, and Mexico City, where graffiti had been covered up on walls and painted over. And we would either screen print and use a bunch of different mixed media techniques on top of the artwork in order to graffiti on top of where the graffiti had been covered up. And so we would do things like sewing on the actual paper of the canvases. We would draw on top of them, screen printing primarily. We would also use a technique with rice paper using candle wax to make it more transparent and do a collage technique on top of certain pieces in the gallery. And I thought that at first, if you had told me in high school that that was how I was going to start my research experience, I would have probably been really concerned and very surprised to hear that that was what I was getting up to. But I'm an incredibly visual person, and I think that this experience with Professor Thomas taught me so much about how research is about trial and error, and also expanded my horizons to show me that research incorporates so many creative projects as well at the university, which is something that I'm very passionate and happy that Pitt holds so close and upholds so much, because I really started to get into creative writing and doing different kinds of creative pieces in addition to more analytical kinds of writing in my English literature classes. My project now that I did for my senior thesis revolves around women Victorian writers. I worked on this project alongside Dr. Amy Murray Twining, who has been my advisor since freshman year, and I owe so much to her. And during this project, I particularly look at how visual arts presented in these works of Victorian literature help to enable the women in the novels to imagine themselves outside of the restrictive and confining social structures and laws that regulated their behavior, that regulated all the things that they could and couldn't do in society, which was very little at the time. And so I truly believe that because of my experience, my first experience in research being so heavily involved with studio arts, it definitely translated into the work that I did for my senior capstone thesis. And I'm so proud that it all created a very cohesive picture in the end and helped to shape me into a better scholar throughout the process of completing this research. And I had many once in a lifetime opportunities while pursuing this senior capstone. I went on the OUR's London Field Studies program to London, England. And a part of that, I spent the day in Yorkshire in the north of England at the Bronte Parsonage and Museum, the home of the Bronte sisters, Charlotte, Emily, and Anne. And I got to go into the archives at the museum and look through Charlotte Bronte's journals from when she was in school, look through their personal artwork that they would sketch in their book collection because paper was a hot commodity and they would draw on the walls. They would use every blank space in order to draw and create their imaginary spaces into reality. And so that was a really inspirational trip for me, and it wouldn't have been possible without the funding from the OUR and the experiences that all of you have been able to provide me. And so continuing on from undergrad, I will be attending Pitt's Graduate School of Education to be involved in the Mosaic program where I'll earn a master's of special education and also be certified to teach English. I hope to become an English teacher in the future, and I will definitely be taking all of the knowledge and experience I gained while doing research at Pitt to create the classroom that I hope my ideal classroom to become, which is one that critically analyzes cultures and the historical context of novels in order to get a deeper understanding of the effect and the impact of certain pieces of writing, and to talk about the impact and work of different prolific writers from all different cultures. So thank you so much for listening to what I had to say. And I think Samir is next.
Thank you, Kate. Samir.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Dean Blee. My name is Samir Yelal, and I will be graduating also this May, which is both exciting and terrifying. But I am majoring in anthropology and natural sciences and minoring in theater arts and creative writing. So when I first started my journey at the University of Pittsburgh in the fall of 2017, I had a pit in my stomach because I really wanted to pursue a number of different things. I had so many different interests, and I never really narrowed it down because I had my natural sciences and anthropology, and I wanted to pursue a bunch of different fields. So one of the best pieces of advice in terms of getting involved with research, which I now pass down to all of my mentees, is that if you want to get involved with research at Pitt, the first and foremost thing that you need is that curiosity, the curiosity to want to explore. And if you have that, the rest will fall in place. But it's starting with that curiosity. And I was curious about a lot of things. So the second semester of my freshman year, I joined a lab within the UPMC Department of Psychiatry. In the lab that I joined, actually I worked as an RA under two PIs. The first study looked at the connection between the gut microbiome and adolescent mental health disorders. And that was very exciting. And that was under Dr. Lauren Bilesma, who is a very eminent scholar in the field. And the other lab that I was involved in was under Dr. Caroline Oppenheimer, and that looked at suicidality and stress in heterosexual and sexual minority adolescent girls. And both of those experiences really gave me a lot, especially in terms of the skills, the necessary skills of research in terms of analyzing the data, presenting data, presenting data in the form of posters, while also providing me with the necessary sort of shadowing experience with experts in the field. So I'm still a part of both labs, and I'm really thankful for the sort of experience that they've given me. Right now, I'm pursuing an honors thesis in anthropology, and my anthropological research looks at masculinity and the relation between masculinity, theater arts, and sexuality. So, with theater arts being a stereotypically or culturally feminized terrain, I interviewed several male students at the University of Pittsburgh involved in theater arts to understand how theater arts has helped them construct and reconstruct their own masculinities. As a male student involved in theater arts myself, this is something I've thought about a lot. So I'm very close to this research in the way that a lot of anthropological research is. And that sort of research relies, because it's more qualitative, it relies more on semi-structured, in-depth interviews. And through those interviews techniques with my faculty mentor, Dr. Gabby Yearwood, who's been so very helpful in constructing the research, learning about the specific techniques of an anthropological interview has served me so well and has translated to other fields, such as maybe taking a patient's history, where I work at the Birmingham Free Clinic in the South Side. So what I'm trying to get at is that in terms of the research, the skills that I've gotten are very translatable to other disciplines and other fields. I think University of Pittsburgh especially was so great about this idea of interdisciplinary research. And for me, I never felt that I was placed in a box of any kind, that I'm pursuing a pre-medical route, so I have to be involved in a wet lab, in bench research or wet lab research. But I felt that I could do that while also pursuing other forms of research. And Pitt was, especially the OUR, was very, very supportive of that, and they're encouraging of every student to fully fulfill their research and passions. Some of the other research highlights in the summer of my sophomore year, I studied abroad in the Amazon rainforest, and there I was able to actually, all the students conducted a research project in ecology, and especially rainforest tropical ecology. And there was also an anthropological component to that. My specific project looked at the uses of the poison dart frog and how the local indigenous tribes viewed the poison dart frog and incorporated that in medicinal contexts. And our team produced a complete research paper by the end of the course, and that's a research experience that I will always keep with me after graduation and for the rest of my life. In terms of the research that I've done here, I've done some research in the natural sciences and the humanities and the social sciences. So I'm really glad that I was able to get the full picture in that sense. So in the future, in terms of my future plans, I'm planning on applying to medical schools this May. And again, as a physician or in my future, I really hope to sort of incorporate some of the training I've received, especially in anthropology and conducting anthropological research, into medicine. I've taken some courses here in medical anthropology specifically, sort of bridging the gap between the social sciences and the humanities and the natural sciences. Some of the most exciting research projects I've come across in the Department of Psychiatry here are projects that sort of combine those elements. One project that immediately comes to mind is a doctor and researcher in the Department of Psychiatry here that is looking at creating a cognitive behavioral therapy that is aligned with biblical values in Black churches in Homewood. So that's a project that is very based on interviews and talking to Black fathers, but it also combines elements of psychiatric care and psychiatric research. So that's something that immediately is very exciting to me and something I hope to pursue in my future career. Um, so yeah, I'm very, very excited for the opportunities Pitt has given me, and hail to Pitt. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And finally, we have Paris.
Yeah, thank you, Dean Blee. Hi, everyone. My name is Paris Chand, and I'm a second year biological sciences and sociology double major here at the University of Pittsburgh. And just to start, I feel that research is vastly important to understanding some of our revolving issues and problems present within our society and world today. And it really illuminates some inconsistencies within like previous assumptions or previous research that may have been familiar or not familiar to us before. And it really helps strengthen some of the our understandings of the natural world and like how society has approached a certain issue or topic in through multiple lenses. So, and I feel that at Pitt, I have the opportunity to explore my interests with a deeper focus and think more critically about what it means to be a researcher within this time period, but also understanding what it means to be a researcher as an undergraduate student here at the University of Pittsburgh. So, like I mentioned, I am a biological sciences and sociology double major, and I am lucky enough to pursue research in both those fields here at Pitt. And just to talk about a little bit about the biomedical aspect of my research experience, I feel that, so I am a undergraduate research assistant at the Graduate School of Public Health, where my mentor and I investigate how polypeptides or proteins, for example, affect bacterial resistance or can overcome bacterial resistance in traditional antibiotics. So sadly, of course, because the pandemic and stuff, I have not been able to go to my research lab recently, but I am looking forward to continue researching and digging, like getting those questions about how like these different like polypeptides may actually help our society in a way, and how we may learn from like different aspects of public health in terms of helping people of low socioeconomic status, or people who have bacterial conditions such as that. And then to talk about my sociological type of research, this semester I was lucky enough to pursue an independent research project on tobacco company marketing. So within this research project, I examined tobacco advertisements within the Pitt News and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and and I can understand, like, by analyzing these advertisements, we may understand what some of the strategies of tobacco companies were when marketing to college students, for example. So it really shows that like these like giant, like huge, like big tobacco corporations during like the 1950s to 1970s, which was a time of like American consumption and like American like purchases and sales and stuff like that, that they really marketed to Pitt students, for example. Like one advertisement that really stood out to me was they offered a prize to people who would come and visit the Pitt Penn State football game, for example. And people who would like come to pay an entrance fee would be entered to be in a raffle to win, let's say, a pack of cigarettes, for example. So it's really interesting because I get to understand not only like the marketing strategies that really appealed to youth populations and the residents of Pittsburgh, but also like how this like really affects like the United States from a national scale, and how currently like we are facing like a massive like vaping epidemic, for example. And by understanding like how previous archival data in the 1950s to 1970s and what kind of strategies that these tobacco companies have utilized during this time period may like provide insight into some of the strategies they use today. So clearly we know like with vaping, like some of the strategies could be like, oh, an appeal towards like different colors, for example. Like they sell like color, they sell flavors, they sell like different types of I guess some types of different products that might be appealing to youth populations. So, and by understanding how previous data, such as like the Pittsburgh Post Gazette and the Pitt News, how these advertisements affected these youth populations during this time period, we might understand how today we are in the case that we are with the vaping epidemic. So as someone who wants to go to medical school eventually, I feel like that research is like vastly important in terms of synthesizing ideas and thinking critically about how like these different like topics can be explored to like in a depth that like no one has maybe gone to, for example. So I think like as a sociological researcher, I think that understanding not only the human body per se, but also the backgrounds of my patients, such as like socioeconomic status, income, race, understanding that these types of factors really contribute to patient care and quality healthcare. And I feel that pursuing two different types of research, both in the biomedical sciences, but also in sociology, gives me sort of like a sense of like the world as we know it, and understanding how research is very pertinent in our time and probably will be more pertinent in the years to come. And with that, I will turn it over to Dean Blee.
Thank you very much. So we asked the students to come and talk about their experiences so you would get a sense of what undergraduate research means to the students. But listen to the students, I'm sure you also got another sense, which is why it's so easy to get faculty to volunteer to supervise students outside of the classroom. These students that you heard today and many other students like them are just incredibly bright, incredibly ambitious, and incredibly broad. Our students in the Dietrich School, for the most part, are not in a little niche of study. They're taking multiple majors and minors, and they're studying abroad, and they're working in research projects in their classrooms and outside of their classrooms. And it's a privilege. It's why faculty love to teach at Pitt, and I think it's why students love to come to Pitt. It's a way of undergraduate research is a way of creating a community, small communities within a big campus where faculty and students can really get to know each other and work side by side on projects of mutual interest, like you've heard today. So I appreciate the students giving us that explanation. Just a quick background, we have in the Dietrich School what the students were referring to as OUR, the Office of Undergraduate Research, and that helps undergraduates find research opportunities outside of the classroom at all levels. So many of our students start with first experiences in research, which matches faculty with research projects, with students looking for research projects in that area. And then as students progress in their undergraduate careers, they often move into other kinds of projects, often more independently designed projects and working with faculty on higher levels. So when we talk about undergraduate research, we're not talking about an opportunity, as you saw today, that students do once in their career. It's often an opportunity that students do multiple times in multiple disciplines, which makes our undergraduate program and our undergraduates so exciting and fun to work with. So the reason this is a fundraising opportunity for an interest for the Dietrich School is because we think this is central to students. It really helps students develop all kinds of skills that are transferable and helps them apply their education in real world scenarios. It's very important to their postgraduate success. But as you see from the kinds of projects that students were talking about today, undergraduate research often needs funding. So students have projects that require travel. They have projects that require them to spend full time across the summer and therefore forego the opportunity to do summer employment. So we're really committed in the Dietrich School that if somebody has shown the credentials to get into the University of Pittsburgh, which already makes you a very ambitious, successful student. We want to make sure anyone who comes into our school has every opportunity that they want to take advantage of, including undergraduate research multiple times. And we want to find ways, and always are looking for ways to support those ambitions. So I'm open for questions. If there are questions, there's a question in the chat. How do you identify the research opportunities and how did you pursue them? So that is a question best answered by one of our students. So who would like to tell how they identify the research opportunity?
I can start.
Okay,
So
thank you.
in the humanities, I think that research opportunities are very, very varied and also very accessible to students, I've found. I would engage through multiple different sources to get research opportunities, one being the Office of Undergraduate Research. They have many wonderful programs that pair students with a certain project in the first experiences in research, which is how I got connected with Professor Thomas as a mentor. Additionally, there's other independent research opportunities that you can apply for in the Office of Undergraduate Research. Some involve field studies, like the London field studies I was involved with. And also there are some that provide stipends for students so they can work over the summer or during the semester on a project, or receive funding if they need a particular resource for their projects. And also I found that I came across most of my research opportunities but through class discussions, and finding, especially in my English classes, we would talk about many books that would spark an interest in me and spark a topic that I'd want to learn more about and pursue further. Lots of assignments are geared towards research-based writing in the English department, and so that's a great foundation to then eventually step outward, whether it's pursuing independent programs through the Office of Undergraduate Research. I've also done programs through the University Honors College, who supports students really well. So those are the main sources where I've come across research opportunities, but I think there are many ways through both programs, classes, and also through your own motivations that you can have a lot of research experience during your time as an undergrad.
Great, thank you, Kate. So I was sent a question, when talking about undergraduate research, what level of support or gift size are we talking about? And that could really range. So gifts of $4,000 can provide an opportunity for a student to participate in research over a semester or a summer, but certainly larger gifts make research opportunities possible for longer periods of time or make funding available for more students. And it's also possible, and we have many examples of this, for donors to endow a research fund to make support available to undergraduates in perpetuity. It really depends on your interests. You can designate it to a department, an area of study, or whatever, and our development officers certainly can help you with that. Another question for students. What's the most rewarding, in a snapshot, in a few words, what was the most rewarding part of being engaged in research at Pitt? So Samir, I'll pick on you here.
Rewarding part, that's a really great question. I think for me, one of the benefits as a freshman that I hadn't considered was the exposure to professionals in their field. That was very, very rewarding, because when you're learning from a PI or from a doctor or from a faculty member, you're not just learning what they're telling you, but there's so much other learning that goes on in that setting. In my research lab, specifically, I'm thinking of the conversations that I was around in the lab meetings when I'm presenting the lab meetings, or opportunities to attend Pitt Psychiatry Day, or these sorts of opportunities that aren't necessarily advertised on a website or anything like that, but they come with being part of the experience. So research is not just conducting a project and analyzing the data, but it's also the connections, the conversations that you're having, what you're observing, the procedures that you're observing. All of these things have proved immensely rewarding for my own academic and professional enrichment, as well as, you know, in investing in my future. So I think that portion of it has, and I've only realized how rewarding that was from where I'm sitting as a senior. As a freshman, I would not have considered that aspect of it. But now, you know, having 4 years under my belt, I'm looking back and thinking, wow, you know, that was immensely rewarding.
Great. Well, unfortunately, with that, we're out of time. So I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. I want to thank our wonderful students for participating. And just to remind everyone that our alumni and donor support are transforming the lives of students like this every day. And we're very grateful to that, to everyone for that. So hail to Pitt, and best wishes and good health to all of you. Thank you.